Hello, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for dropping where you're from. It's really exciting to see where everyone's tuning in from. So, welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another AQColor webinar. My name is Richie, and with me is the incredibly talented Esteban Toro. Esteban, he's a travel photographer and filmmaker that captures the beauty in our world across the globe. His photography has been showcased at the New York Fashion Week and exhibitions like Photo Paris and the NXT Museum in Amsterdam. Most recently, he was in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, at Exposure. So before we start, just have a few updates to share on BenQ side. We currently have a design contest going on, the Four Elements Design Contest. This contest is an opportunity for all of you digital creators to show off your unique skills and bring your imagination to life. Embrace the four elements, wind, fire, water, and earth, and share your elemental work with us for the opportunity to win some sweet prizes. This campaign runs through September 16th, and more information can be found on BenQ's website on the homepage if you scroll down a little bit. We also had a new photography monitor come out recently, the SW242Q. It's a 2K monitor with hardware calibration and exclusive screen print solution, making it ideal for photographers and photo editors. This monitor excels in color accuracy and screen to print solutions. It also has hardware calibration and convenient color management, and comes with fine coded panel for unwanted glare. So in this webinar, Esteban, he's going to explore the art of travel photography and filmmaking across 50 countries. He's going to guide you all through the process of choosing the right equipment, different shooting techniques, and give you a behind the scenes on his post-production magic. So please ask any questions throughout the webinar as we'll be monitoring them throughout. And without further ado, please welcome Esteban Toro.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Richie. That was great. I'm really happy to be back at these BenQ webinars. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back. I brought many things. We're gonna be hosting multiple, and it's gonna be like really interesting topics for all of you. I want to share really quick for those we haven't met. I want to share a little bit about my work so you get to see what I do, and then we can start the conversation. So I'm going to share my screen right now, make sure that I'm sharing my sound. Of course, I have to share it in Premiere Pro. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is a little bit of what I do. This is my work as a photographer, as a filmmaker. Multiple of the scenes that you see here, I have recorded them myself or with a team. So, and this is what this whole webinar is going to revolve around, the journey of a travel photographer and a filmmaker. So let's try to understand why a travel photographer and filmmaker, and then let's start from there. So the first thing that I want to share with you is this is what I do, and this is what I love what I do. This is my favorite photo that has ever been taken of me. Yes, this is me there. And this was a project that we were aiming to do. This was a commercial we were shooting for an Australian company. And during this commission project, I really wanted to photograph the essence of the product that we were shipping, which was basically a 3D Imagine just like a Google Maps on steroids. Like that's what we were producing. And everything that was captured, everything that was done from a helicopter. So I wanted to show, and we were capturing this in New York City for multiple hours. I spent, I think, more than 100 hours in a helicopter, even more. And I wanted to have a good memory of it. So we created this marketing project, and it was all a film showing how, like how it's captured. This was probably one of the most difficult scenes that I have ever captured in my life, because we had to coordinate two helicopters at the same time, getting close enough that we could actually take the photo that we had envisioned before, that I actually sketched before, but not so close that we will crash. So that was one part of the challenge. The second part was getting everyone coordinated, like having the pilots who had enough experience. Actually, we had to bring up another pilot from another state who helped us to fly the second helicopter. And then at some point, I just had to, like I explained the vision to my team, and then I just had to trust that they could do it, and they did an amazing job. I remember telling them like, "Hey, I want multiple things. I want the Empire State to be included in the photo, and I want the sunrise, and kind of like Midtown Manhattan." So that's exactly what we were able to do, and this is so far one of my favorite photos. So the thing is that I love photography because it has taken me to places and situations that otherwise I would have never been there. Like this one, like flying hours in New York City and taking photos and going super creative. But filmmaking has allowed me to understand that I need to work with a team. It's not about myself. So that's a specific distinction with photography. When I think about like me taking photos, it's usually like going by myself with my camera. When I think about filmmaking, it requires coordination with a team. So how I started in this journey, and that is part of it. Well, it all started with something really simple. As a photographer, I was always curious and wanting to learn more about other photographers. I wanted to learn from other artists, but unfortunately, photographers are a little bit like, like they really like to stay by themselves. So I wanted to learn from other people. And one of the people that I wanted to learn the most was Jean Paul Bordier. You can find his name here. I recommend you, if you can just Google his photos and check him out. It's an incredible photographer, an artist. I wanted to learn from him. So I remember meeting him. I told him like, "Hey, Jean Paul, I want to, like, do you teach any workshop? Is there anything that I can do to learn from you?" He was like, "No, I just go to the desert and produce my images." I was so curious that I just told him like, "Hey, can I make a film about your work?" And he said, a film about my work. I mean, yeah, why not? Like, let me think." So we kept in touch. And then months after, maybe a year after, he emailed me and he says like, "Hey, Esteban, you remember that idea? I want you to, uh, like join me in the desert and film all the things that I do, and then just produce, like whatever you consider that is worth it." Um, and that was super exciting because I was going to learn from one of the people that I wanted to learn the most. But at the same time, I was really afraid because I had done like video stuff and I had shot video, but my head was thinking more as a photographer. So I was like, how to make a story. And that was like the first step that I had to like actually build like a whole storytelling, like whole like film. And just let me share with you the trailer of this movie that came out in 2016.
Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The engine's running.
What is it? What is this body mind? death is this second made a bit longer.
This documentary that you can go and watch right now, it's on my website, or just go to YouTube and search for A Photograph Dies, um, was my it was the first time that I really had to take the time and understand how how to how to build a story, how to connect, the sound with the video, and making sure that I was there not to just take photos. I took photos while being there and to learn from him, but also to build the story. I was not thinking just with one single frame, but with multiple frames and how this frame connected with the other. And I feel that really took me into a path that helped me to become a better artist, a better photographer as well, because then I was not thinking about a single frame as photographers will normally do, but I was thinking like how this frame that I have, even in photography, even when I'm making any series, how this photo connects to the next one and the next one and the next one. And that has taken me to a path that I can share with you another video later of a really cool project that I did this year. But this is probably one of my flagship products that I have, like filmmaking wise, that I feel extremely proud of. That landed a second job that was filming a series for Sony, the New York Times, and the World Photography Organization. So of course I was completely thrilled to produce this series, and I had totally creative freedom on how to create the series, and I wanted to produce something that will be good for the community. So at the time, I had been teaching for maybe like, I don't know, 7 years by then, and I had a lot of students who used to come and tell me like, "Hey, Esteban, it's really cool to be in the classroom, but I want to learn more. I wanna see it with my own eyes, how you plan, how you produce, how like how you take the photos that you capture." And that's when I thought, like, this is what I want my series to be about. I want to be the guinea pig of, like, I just want to be the person who you will see thinking and ideating around a whole trip. I want you to see how I go and capture it, how I take the photos that I take, how I post process them, how I print them, and how I bring a portfolio in front of someone. So I kept thinking about this series. I kept thinking about, like, like I had a lot of time to just pre-producing the series, and I thought, like, I want someone to review my work. And that's when, in collaboration with Sony and the World Photography Organization, they decided that we could have Scott Gray, the CEO of the World Photography Organization, who is also a curator, and he helped me to review all my photos. So we met, and he checks all my photos, and we have a conversation, and that is super interesting. But simultaneously, I go to the New York Times office, and then I show my work to Brent Lewis, photo editor at the New York Times, and we just talk about the different images. And if you watch this series, what is amazing is how the comment of one person will be, like, from the point of view of the art collector, is going to be completely different from the one that is talking about, like, photo editing. So it's a fascinating world, like comparing the editorial and the art world, but it helps you to understand how you can leverage your work by pre-planning and understanding how they think and how they want to acquire the work in the two situations. So it's like the whole circle of pre-planning all the way to getting your work in the front of the right eyes. So that's the series. It's 5 episodes. You can also see them right now, but let me show you the trailer. So this is the website if you want to go and watch it later. It's probably we spend I love that series. We spent about more than a year filming it. In total, the production was more than 3 years, like pre-production, production, and post-production. And yeah, we released it during the pandemic, which was a great time for us to finish the editing and doing all that. Um, but yeah, like it was a lovely experience filming and understanding how to show that in 5 different countries. We go to India, Nepal, China, here in the US, and we go to Colombia and we film there. So you can just watch it. My learning again from making that series was like it's really interesting the labor of a photographer. Like maybe, I'm biased, of course, I am a photographer, so I felt that it was really interesting for me to cover the life of artists. So writing a series about my own art was, I don't know, that really led me to another place. And of course, after the series, I had a lot of requests of like, hey, can you share more and create more stuff? So back in 2021, we released this course. This is another audiovisual product that we released. This is a portrait course about how to make portraits in these remote places. So let me show you the trailer as well. I think that one of the like the most beautiful thing of making this series is that all the past videos that I have shown you is I have to be there. Like there are scenes that even if I travel with a filmmaker, there are scenes that are only trusted by like the person who's being like photographed or recorded is only trusting me to film it. So it happened if you watch Aperture, the series, there's an episode about Harish, is the fifth episode. And there was a moment where she said, like, hey, I will let you record me dancing here, but I don't want anyone else in the room. So there's like these super private moments where I'm just taking the photos and then suddenly I have to like turn on myself into a filmmaker and think completely different, think about like movements and panning and how this is gonna cut and relate to something else. So over the course of years and especially over the course of just like basically doing it, I learned how to switch my gear in like my mental gear to understand like, okay, I am creating a photo right now or I'm creating a video. And that takes me to the essential gear. Like, so you might be wondering like, okay, if I want to be a travel photographer slash filmmaker, what do I need? What Esteban takes on his trips? And the answer can be really extensive, but also can be really short. I take whatever is the least amount of gear that is comfortable that I can carry, but that also I can feel secure that I can get the shots that I need. So when we travel to produce Aperture, we travel with I don't know how many bags, more than 5 different bags full of gear, different bodies, different lenses, different, like I remember having the 200, 600 by Sony didn't exist at the time. So I remember it was another one, like a 500 millimeter one that was like in a, like in a really special case, super heavy. We had to carry it everywhere. And that was interesting. That was the experience and that was the moment. But nowadays I travel way lighter. I travel with one or two bodies. I try to prepare a lot what I'm gonna do, so I don't have to carry as many lenses. if I'm gonna go for a really long time, that is exactly what I used to do before, like traveling for 9 months, a year, I'll have to take all my lenses with me. But if I'm traveling now for, let's say, 2 weeks, and I'm just gonna, like film something specific that is related to landscape, I might take just my wide angle, and maybe I will take a, like a zoom just in case that I need to film something else. So I try to carry the least amount of gear that I can. Um, because eventually, even if I carry 5 different bags, as I tell you that I was carrying for the series aperture, I'm never gonna take everything with me when I'm actually shooting. I'm gonna take like one camera, one lens. So everything else will stay in the hotel. So basically, right now I'm shooting with Sony. I personally use the Sony A7R4. That's the camera that I use. I know there is the A7R5, there is the A1, the S3. There are so many cameras that produce video and photo. And that takes me to the perfect camera. So which one is the perfect one in my experience? I actually feel that for me, at the moment, I don't own the camera that I think is the perfect camera, the perfect hybrid for filmmakers and photographers. That would be the Sony A1. I feel that it's a camera that right now allows you to record in 8K, 10 bit of color. It's light, it's compact, like it's really comfortable. And it's also like 50 megapixels on the photography side versus a FX6 that will be like, like it doesn't have the resolution of the A1. So that's the camera that would be ideal for me. But I was at the moment when the A1 came out, I was doing more photography than I was doing filmmaking. So I decided to go for more pixels. The A1 didn't exist. And I'm now waiting for the camera that is going to come after the A1 that probably is going to replace it. So I'm waiting for that one. But that will be for me if I want to have like my ideal camera. Now, there are so many times when I've been filming these series, these videos that I just show you, that I just had to shoot it with whatever I had available. There are shots that you're seeing here that were shot with cameras that no one will ever use for video or for photography, vice versa. And there are shots that I have included lately in my work that are just shot with my iPhone because it's the camera that I just happen to have available. So you really have to understand like what is the camera that you need for the work that you're doing, and also for the place where you're planning to show and display your work. So if you're planning to create like amazing content for social media, then probably, like your phone camera will be perfect. But if you're planning to share it in a big screen, maybe you will need not even a Sony camera might be enough. So it really depends on the project. So I personally think the perfect camera is the one that is available in the moment that you have the best conditions. And what are those best conditions? Let's talk about it. The first one for me is the light. So without light, there's no magic, and the magic happens when you wait for the light. Every time that you're about to film, regardless of the camera that you're using, think, is this the best light conditions that I can use to tell the story that I want to create? Would it be the same if this photo wasn't taken at sunset, but sunrise or noon? Like how the light will change and how it will actually shape the story that I'm trying to tell. In this case, I waited for multiple days just for the sun to come at the right location. I had a storm for many days, so it was always raining. And actually, that day when we were shooting this scene, uh, there was a storm just right before the sunset and right after we took this one. So it's a lot of waiting, it's a lot of patience, but that's what many times will make it beautiful and successful. The second thing is composition. So, of course, we all have heard about composition, rule of thirds, like where the subject is looking at, like making sure the horizon is aligned, all those rules. I know them. I feel they are useful to know when you're learning photography or filmmaking, but then it's important to break those rules and understand what is important for you. One rule that for me is important in composition is with one single frame, will the viewer understand what are they looking at or what are they supposed to look at? So with that premise in my head, every time that before I press record or I just press the shutter to take a photo, I'm trying to understand where is the viewer looking at right now. So if you look at this photo, you will probably start looking at him, but your eye already went first to him, then you go through all the cattle, and then it stops here, kind of like lingers here, and that's exactly where I want you to go. And maybe your eye will disappear and go somewhere else. That is intentional. That is by design. So in all my framings, there's always that intention. What is the main subject? Every time before I press the shutter, before I press the record button, I'm always thinking, is it what I'm trying to show? And is it really like coming true in my composition? Now, timing. What I refer by timing. There was this other scene where I like to go to places and visit them again and repeat and repeat and repeat. And the reason for that is that I had seen this tree many times. I had spent some time with this community, and I noticed that the general dynamic was that kids will come and count the cattle in the night before going to sleep. So I figured that if I will climb on a ladder and I will just wait and wait a little bit, something will happen. What I didn't imagine is that he will jump in the tree to start counting the cattle and looking for them from there. So that made the perfect scene. So it's like I had seen the tree during the day, the light was not good, but I figured that it will be better with better lighting. And then I just stay there and gave the opportunity for something to happen. So sometimes you just have to select one place, one location, whether you're filming or you're taking photos, and just wait for the right thing to happen in front of you, and that's how you do it. Now, something that is key for me, and in general, I want to include in all my, if possible, in every single of my frames, is emotion. So is it like you look at this photo, a lot of people has told me, that's why I feel so convinced to, so like, yeah, secure to say it right now. This you can hear this photo, like you can hear them screaming, you can hear them like celebrating, and that you cannot fake it, that you cannot add it in post-production, that doesn't depend on the camera that you're using. That's exclusively about being there, making sure you're doing your job, you're filming, you're recording, you're taking photos, but you're just waiting for that emotion and that moment, that special, unique moment to happen. Another thing that I love to consider is the point of view. From where I am filming or photographing. Am I filming from the ground? Do I think this place will look interesting from the sky? So what I try to do is that when I go to really impressive nature places, I try to go in a helicopter and photograph and film from there, because I usually get a really interesting footage. So this is in Namibia, and I'm basically shooting from a helicopter, doors off. Other people will use a drone. Because of the quality that I want to get for my photos and my films, I like to do it from a helicopter. But I always consider the point of view, not only like if it's like behind the back, but it's like, is it from the ground? Is it from the sky? We're gonna change the angle of the camera from different places. And for me, like aerial filming has been like extremely, extremely important. And of course, there is a part of it that is magic. It just happens when you're filming, when you're shooting, and that's the combination of all the like all the topics that I told you before. For me, this photo summarizes everything that I'm telling you. So it's the light, is the blue hour, is waiting for that perfect moment. Like the color is good. I knew the location, I knew the subject, I had built a relationship with the subject, and also the light, the combination of the light, like this lamp is lighting his face. There is no external or additional artificial light besides this light. Um, and I'm just waiting for that moment. Everything in the frame, I wanted to be there. So I'm making sure that everything is working. And just, I remember I have actually, I don't know if you guys can see it right now, but the photo that is here in my background, that is another shot from the same scene. And basically what is happening there is that the fishermen are just like in the routine fishing here, and at some point he's coming towards the edge where I'm standing, and I just found this magical moment, and that's where I capture it. It actually breaks some rules of composition. If you think about it, like the kind of the subject that you're looking at, it's centered, he's looking afar, like there are rules that are being broken by this, my own photo, but I actually feel that's what it adds part of the magic. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the software that I personally use. I have been, for photography, I use Lightroom and Photoshop. And for video editing, I edit everything in Premiere Pro and After Effects. Those are basically the apps that I use. So that's a little bit about it. But we can discuss a little bit more of software later if you guys are curious. And then I want to show you this hardware that has helped me to create my work. And here goes a new one that you haven't seen.
Today we're at Banff National Park in Canada. I'm really excited because I decided to do something a little bit unconventional. I brought this monitor. This is the BenQ SW242Q, and it's a really portable monitor that has helped me to make decisions on the go. And there are three things that I like about this monitor. The first one is how portable it is. I was actually able to bring it to my camping site, so that has been great.
Precision is number 2 in my list.
It's especially good when I just wanna edit my photos or I want to see how the footage looks like. So the high accuracy and the color accuracy helps me to assess if I need to revisit a location or actually got the footage that I need for my project. The third thing is that it helps me to connect with my students during my workshops. So every time we go on an expedition, it helps me to easily have my students just plug in their computer and we can study and learn Premiere Pro, After Effects, and we can post-process their files and understand how they can enhance their work. Would you consider having a monitor like this one when you're on the road?
All right, so these are some of the monitors that I use. I, of course, as an ambassador for BenQ, I believe in the brand. I think their monitors are great. They help me with making sure that everything that I'm seeing in the screen is going to look exactly the same when I print, and it's going to be as accurate as possible that if I am editing here in my screen and I'm, like color grading, and then it's going to go somewhere else, it's going to look really good. Now, I can control where it's going to look in other places because I can control the screens, the calibration that they will use, but I can definitely control what I'm bringing or what I'm delivering and shipping from there. So that's one of the things that I like the most. And before we jump into the Q&A, which I know that we have, I don't know how we're doing on time, but okay. I want to show you two things and then we can jump into the Q&A. The first one, because I know some of you might be curious how we can stay in touch. These are my social media. I'm always happy to connect with you. This is my Instagram, Esteban Toro M. I'm on X. I'm trying to be super active here, and I'm talking a lot about Adobe products. I'm talking a lot about Premiere Pro, and I'm building a community of filmmakers there if you want to connect. And of course, if you're a little bit more old school like me, we can also connect on Facebook. So I'm happy to connect with you all there. Now, and before we jump into the Q&A, I have one more announcement to make. We are, let me go back here. We are announcing with my studio an expedition to India. We're going to be photographing and documenting, filming the Holi Festival. So if you want to learn photography and filmmaking while you discover India, and especially we're going to focus on the Holi Festival, we will be going on in 2025. You can join us, and all the information I think is here where it says more info, estebantoro.com/India 2025. So with that said, let's jump for a little bit of Q&A. I don't know, Richie, if you can help me reading some of the questions we might have.
Yeah, since you're the host, if you look down at the Q&A button next to the
Absolutely.
shared one, there might be some there. I didn't see any come through the chat, but if anyone has questions, now's a great time to ask. I actually have a couple of questions of my own, Esteban, to start off.
Sure.
Yeah, so you mentioned you have some places that you go to over and over again. So what are some of your favorite places you've been to for photography?
That's a great question. I really love I my answer has always been China. Like China is one place that the landscape is so beautiful and so powerful. But this answer will be a little bit like funny. Every time that I go to India, I promise that it will be the last time that I go. And every time that I go to the Holy Festival, because it's so chaotic, and you can see the episode. I actually have the episode on the expedition website, and also you can see it in the series. Um, it's intense, it's chaotic. So every time I'm like, this is the last time that I'm gonna be here. I'm never coming back, and every time I'm always returning because the images are so powerful and the experience is so like unique that it's another of my favorite places. I think that places that are a little bit challenging to document, those are the places that I like to attend to or to visit.
Awesome, that's super cool. What's a country that you've always wanted to shoot in, but you haven't been able to yet?
Huh. That's a lovely question. Like Papua New Guinea, I would love to go to Papua New Guinea. I feel that's a place where I would love to go, but I haven't been. I haven't been yet. One day I hope to be there. Oh, and Mongolia for sure. I wanted to go
Beautiful.
to Mongolia 2020, but we all know what happened. So
Hmm. Okay, and then your photos, you obviously shoot the people native to that country. And I just have a question. How do you find these subjects and also communicate with them when taking photos of them? Are they all excellent in Spanish and English, or do you have a translator with you? How does that work?
I generally nowadays I try to have a translator with me who will help me communicate, especially if I want, like I don't know, make like a special portrait or film them or but I remember in the very beginning, I would just communicate however I can. And sometimes I still use this technique because not every single time you will have your translator with you. Sometimes this person will be solving some other thing for you, and then you just see the perfect scene. So that's when I go to the person and I literally use like, hey, like, and I show them my camera and I said like, can I take your photo? And usually, if they're like, whatever, like I start taking photos. But if they say like no, I just respect that. So yeah, most of the times I would say like 80% of the time, people don't speak the language. So which maybe makes it easier because then there are no questions asked, like it's like, okay, just take my photo and go.
That's true. Oh, that's super interesting. Um, what advice would you give to someone who's just getting started in travel photography?
Um, what advice? Okay. If I were to start again right now, I will definitely learn photography and video. That was, and maybe that's the whole point of my presentation today. And you just touch it. Like I became a filmmaker by accident. I wanted to be a photographer. Like I really like, like wanted to be a photographer. I became a filmmaker by accident, but that has helped me in my career so much. I mean, currently what I do is mostly filmmaking more than photography. So to tell my stories, to talk about, like my expeditions, my courses, to film, to get opportunities and learn from other photographers. Like I feel in general, if you learn filmmaking, it's going to help you to promote your own photos. It's going to help you as a photographer because then you're going to understand not just like the single frame that you're making, but how that frame connects to the other frames that you have made, like across your career. And that's going to give you another vision and another tools that I feel is going to be more helpful. And nowadays, having social media, like when you have to produce the stories, reels, like TikToks, whatever, like having this language and understanding how to create video is going to make your career as a photographer way, way easier.
Definitely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I had a question from William. He asks, are all of the clips you've shown, they're quite short. So is that part of the design to keep the viewer engaged, or is it due to other design considerations?
So what I show you, William, right now is trailers mostly. If you look at the series or the documentary, like a photograph dies, it's super contemplative. Like I remember the first scene maybe last like 2 minutes and a half. It's just like you're just sitting there looking at stuff, and there are scenes where John Paul is building something, and you will see it. I think that scene at first was like 8 minutes, and then we cut it into like 4.5 or something like that. But that builds into the story. So the trailers for me are more about like like making the impact and making sure that you guys are like curious. That's the whole point. Like you guys are curious and you go like, okay, let me see what is that aperture about or a photograph that is about. So that's the point. And then if I already convince you that you're gonna go and watch my series or the documentary, then I can spend the time to build the story. So by design, I had always tried to make it like really short for many years, never imagining that nowadays we will face this, like this boom of like extreme short content. Um, yeah.
Okay, and then I had a question from Cliff. He asks, how do you find where you want to go in India and China, given they're such vast countries?
That's a great question, Cliff. Look, I research a lot. I spend a lot of time searching online, different blogs, looking at other photographers and filmmakers' work, seeing where they have been before, how it looks like. If I hear or read about a place that sounds slightly interesting, I just write it down. Check on. We have so many tools nowadays. Google Maps. I go to Google Maps and I see like, oh, this is not so far from where I'm gonna go, so maybe I'm gonna explore it this time. I built an like a network of people, like local people in the places that I go. So if I go to India, I'm gonna make sure to stay in touch with the people there. So then I can tell them like, hey, I know about this place. What do you think? And their answer is like, oh yeah, this is a really cool place, or it's really touristic, and they already know me. They already know what I want. So they will come back to me with information, and that will help me to make decisions on the places that I want to visit.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super, super helpful that you have locals to kind of guide you to the key spots in these countries. Feel like they can give you insight that you can't find anywhere online.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Where's
think overall it helps you to stay in touch. And that's to me the most important thing about photography and filmmaking. Like right now it sounds a little bit cliche to say, but I have friends all over the world, and I love that. I really love that.
Yeah, it's amazing how it connects people like all over the world, and you wouldn't get to know them except for this medium through photography.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah. Another question from William: do you often mix stills and film?
Yes. So, and that is a really cool advantage that I feel that I have. There are some filmmakers who will not know about photography, and photographers who will not know about filmmaking. So I think knowing both mediums is really great because you can easily mix them. Sometimes if I'm filming and I don't have the time to get like let's say like a scenic shot, I can just take a photo, make sure that I will frame it in a way that I can use it after as if it was a video, and I just save myself like minutes of filming. Um, I like to combine the two mediums. So I love when, when you can see like a video and one after another, and then you just see like really contemplative like photos, and you can enjoy it and stop there. And it helps you to create a rhythm in between the photos and the videos. So I definitely love to mix them. I do it all the time, intentionally, when capturing and when post-processing as well.
Okay, and then I have another question for myself. So, what are some of the biggest obstacles you face with travel photography and filmmaking, and what are some ways you can avoid them?
Um, hmm. It depends on where exactly and on what part of the industry you're referring to, but I feel that, let me see, the one of the obstacles that I faced the most at the beginning was like getting myself stuck with the idea that I didn't have the right gear, and that's why I didn't produce what I wanted to create. So, like we all here love cameras, love like, like gears and computers and monitors and all, like all sort of things. Uh, and then you think like, oh, if I don't have all the tools that super professional filmmakers or photographers have, I am not one of them. But actually, I mean, you can be a great photographer and take the best photos with your phone camera, or you can take them with the most amazing camera, and that's not gonna make virtually no difference besides the fact that you're gonna print them in a larger size, and maybe it's gonna have a little bit more of detail. Um, Beyond that, like the gear doesn't matter as much, and that has helped me to, like I used to collect like all sorts of gears for filmmaking, for photography, like flashes and, like continuous lights and sliders and gimbals, drones. And I was getting so stuck in I have so many things and I want to do everything at the same time that I forgot, like everything was like from the lens to the back towards me. And what really makes an image like stand out is like everything that is happening in front of the lens, regardless of what you're shooting with. So don't get stuck with the gear. Film with whatever you have available. That is like something that can really get you stuck. And the other thing, of course, is not making like you want to be a photographer or a filmmaker just for the passion, or you want to make it your profession and your business. These are two different things. And both of them are equally good, but especially when things start to merge, if it happens, as it happened to me, I didn't envision that my profession was going to be, like being a photographer. So I didn't like the first time that someone offered me to pay for my photos, I was so excited that I didn't even think about how much I'm going to charge, and I didn't care. So it's like at some point you just have to like understand like, okay, I need to make a profit out of it. And I need to pay taxes, and I need to, like out of my work, and I need to pay other people, and I need to make money. So how do I make money out of this and strategize around it? Like it's important to be creative, and if you feel that you don't have that strategic mind, partner with someone who has it and can help you so you can have your vision, and someone else can help you with that. But I feel that don't ignore that to the very end. Have a strategy from the very beginning.
Some wise words there, Esteban. I think that's all the questions we have. Esteban, thank you so much for taking us through your journey in travel photography and filmmaking. It was really interesting to see, everything that goes into your unique work. Everyone watching, I hope you're all able to take information from this webinar and use it in your future travels. One more question came in from
Sure.
Ismail. When do you decide what shots to keep and what to delete? Do you do this on the photo trip, weeks after, or months after?
You're gonna laugh about my answer. I never delete a single frame, never, or video, unless it's like it's completely out of focus and I don't know, or I was just filming to the ground and I didn't notice. I never delete it, and the reason is that something that you think that is crap now, give it 5, 10 years, and you're gonna look at it and you're gonna be like, wow, there is something here. I mean, sometimes you will look at those and you'll be like, yeah, there's nothing here. Maybe you can decide then to delete it. But I will not suggest it to delete at the moment, because you're then just thinking like, oh, I could have shot this from here, or I didn't like the light, or I was annoyed because of this, or I was hungry, or I was sleepy. I don't know, like whatever. There are so many things that influence how you're thinking, but you're not seeing the frame for what it is. You have just the memory of everything that was happening at the time. So when 5, 10 years have passed and you look at these frames, then you just think like, oh, wait, like I don't remember anything about this place. So it's like that photo is actually looking really cool. Oh, look at this interesting camera movement. Like I keep it and I feel that yeah, like that helps me um just to stay with my files. And I see Michael asking in the chat like if we can talk about file management. Easy, I can show you. Like let me just, I will share my screen in a second. Let me just share with you just my general like folder structure. So this is how it looks like. So I have years here. I have like different hard drives. I usually have backups. So I have multiple hard drives stacked in a, like in one of these like Synology units, and other, like other things where I just stack all my hard drives. And basically I organize, so let's say year. So let's say, I don't know, like 2021. And then it's like all the months, like the month. And then I just go to, let's say, go to November. So then I have like per day. So you can see it here, like Las Vegas, Death Valley, and I try to give like some reference to it. And then from there, I will, let's say that let's open like, I don't know, where it can be something like here. So I shot with two different cameras. So I make sure that, like I separate them by camera. And then I have all the raw files. And then usually if there's some video, I will have the folders here, video, and yeah, you will see it in a second. It's gonna pop up here. You will have all the video files, and that's how I store my files. Um, I created this system. It's taking a little bit to load. I created this system that is basically like, like foolproof, that if someone ever wants to like, like I passed away and I don't know, like someone in my team wants to check for the files, or I am traveling and I need a specific file, I can literally just guide them through the whole process to get there and see the file. That's how I manage my files, and I always have two different backups for all my files.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So with your files, do you ever send them off to have someone else edit them just because you're busy traveling and there's time restrictions, or do you do all that yourself?
The photos, I love to edit them myself. And for video, now I'm editing most of my work, but I have had times when I just like hire video editors and have them do it. Also because it really gives like another vision to the whole story. So that is interesting as well.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for sharing where you're tuning in from. It's always a pleasure to see you guys are watching us from. Your participation makes the session even more special to us. And given the topic of this webinar being travel, it just coincides perfectly. Thank you, Esteban, again for taking time out of your day to take us on this journey. For those of you who want to reference this webinar at a later date, it will be uploaded to YouTube soon and sent out to you all in email. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.